Hey there people, and welcome to a Let's Play video of Townforge. Townforge is a crypto MMO that we've been working on for quite some time, and we now are starting to feel confident that we're ready to release it to a public testnet, so here we go. Townforge is a genuine crypto MMO. It really relies on a blockchain. All the actions in the game go to a blockchain, and the blockchain is derived from a heavily modified mono fork. The game itself really compromises of two different components. You have a 3D based voxel building game, kind of a little bit inspired by games like Minecraft and all those cube based building games. And then you have a complex emergent player driven economics game where you compete against each other, undercut, make sure your people are fed and kept warm, and so forth. And in the game, you play as Norse settlers that arrive on Greenland during the medieval warm era around year 950. So that's the premise. Obviously, we take a lot of liberty in that the framework gives people the chance to really mold the world into what they want it to be in terms of what it looks like, the aesthetics in the voxel world, as well as what is going on in the world, what kind of market situations there are, other things, other arrangements between people. But Townforge itself does try to minimize the amount of explicit rules that it really imposes on people. We do set, for example, so that the markets are reliable in terms of buy and sell orders. You can found towns and get mayor subsidies, and the town treasuries work. You can research tech and so forth and so forth. All these play into that player emergent gaming experience. So, if you are interested in Townforge, you should go to townforge.net. In the landing page, you'll see a kind of like an overview of the key characteristics with some screenshots. You'll also see a very comprehensive manual about the game mechanics. The game does get really complex when you start thinking about the interplay between different buildings and other aspects. Frequently asked questions. Townforge does have a cryptocurrency and a game. Currently, we call the cryptocurrency itself Townforge Gold or money. So obviously, with that comes a lot of questions. Um, the game is open source and free, so if you want it, you can go and clone the Git repo and compile the game yourself, or you can head over and download pre-compiled binaries, and these are provided by trusted members of the Townforge community. So whichever way you prefer. And the game, like I said, all actions in it go to the blockchain. So we have a blockchain explorer over here. We can see what kind of transactions are waiting in the pool. We see some trade actions, somebody buying land, and we can explore the previous blocks. Other than that, we have forum, we have wiki, we have an about page with some screenshot compilation and a small summary about the game. Alright, so how do you get to playing Townforge? I am playing on Windows 10 and I've compiled the game with MSys2. So what you need to do first is you need a wallet. So we are going to go. Oh, by the way, over here you can see my mouse and my keyboard. So take that into your advantage when you're looking at the game itself and what commands I'm doing. Yeah, it's there for your convenience. So we fire up the wallet creation. and we want to create a wallet called Let's Play. No wallet found with that name. Some basics. I'm gonna be covering ground that is probably going to be very obvious and probably redundant to some of the crypto people out there. But for example, I come from a more of a gaming background, so I think it is important to cover some of the basics also here. So with the wallet, obviously, we're talking about a cryptocurrency as well as a game. So in terms of the cryptocurrency, you want to be secure about it. So you want to choose a strong password. I will not do that here. I will just put PW, which is obviously not a password you should actually be using, but I'm going to be using that for convenience here. After that, we choose English, and then with the creation of crypto wallets, you are shown a seed of 25 words. So, the blockchain is a decentralized consensus network. And what you need to realize if you come from other MMOs and you're trying to take the conventional MMO thinking, you're a little bit sidetracked here. There's no central server. There's no central people that have godlike powers who can redeem your account for you, for example, or ban your account. Um, Instead, this 25-word seed is essential for recovering your wallet in case you lose your password or your wallet file. So you need to place that in a secure location, probably write it on paper and put it in a safe place or something like that. And if you do lose that, you lose your wallet, your password, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do to recover that for you. All things inside that wallet are gone, in that gaming account, in other words. So take care when you're dealing with wallets and be secure. Better safe than sorry, really. I'm not gonna enable background mining, and something that's also essential in this decentralized world is that we need to be running a daemon. So once you fire up your daemon, you really become a node in the Townforge network. And we launched that with the command Townforge D. D for daemon. And what it starts to do is it will start synchronizing with the current Townforge network. I cleared up the blockchain just for illustrating purposes. As you can see, the height of the blockchain is not too high. It's 1,900. There's a conflicting command that's not a legit command. But we synchronized and we just downloaded basically the entire history of the game up to this point. And we just visited the test chain yesterday. So that's why the blockchain is not that long. The average discovery time for one block is 1 minute. But that's an approximation. It may vary depending on the hash rate fluctuations. Especially in the testnet, you see a lot of fluctuation. We just create a wallet. With the wallet, we now connect to the daemon and we can extract the address of our Townforge wallet and we can start mining to that wallet. I'm going to be using 2 cores. So what it'll now start to do, it will try to start solving this computationally intensive task and pick up transactions from the transaction pool and append them to the Townforge blockchain. Currently we are a little bit behind the expected amount of 90 blocks per 90 minutes, so that's what the warning is about. That's because there's been some fluctuation in the hash rates. Alright, I just said that we created a wallet and we're going to use that for the gaming purposes. I kind of lied because we're not having the time to do that, because when you're mining to a wallet, it takes time for that money to be verified that you obtain from mining. So we're not going to be actually using this wallet. We'll be using wallet with existing unlocked balance. So we have created a wallet, the daemon is running. What we'll do next is fire up the game itself. We have some beautiful 3D buildings as well as a sculpture I did in the previous chain. And we get to the mood of Norse settlers in Greenland in 950. Welcome to Helsingard, the first city in the game. The main menu is on right hand side. We can see that it's year 950, late spring, and 20th day of late spring. There's 12 months really. There's the prefix early, mid, and late, and then you have 4 seasons. So combine those and you have 12 months, and there's 30 days in each month. So that's the Townforge calendar that we designed. And that ping sound you just heard was a block being discovered. I'm gonna check out whether it was me or somebody else. It was somebody else because I didn't get a notification about discovering a block. That's fine. What we will do is I'm gonna load up my Suxu account, which has quite a bit of balance, and I'm actually gonna use the invitation system that's built into the game. I'm gonna invite myself. So I'm gonna give myself 300 gold, generate that unique code for claiming that money from Suxu account with no expiration date, and I copied that to the clipboard, and then we will actually restart the game. And now we don't have currently a wallet loaded, but instead we'll use that invitation code. And that invitation code comes with 300 Townforge gold. Opening up the main menu. Accept invitation. Paste from clipboard. Invitation from Suxu. Startup money 300. And then it prompts you to create a wallet. That's basically the same thing as I did with the Townforge wallet -cli executable. So I'm gonna call that yeah, as you can see I have multiple wallets already here. We're gonna call it 300 gold, just so we remember what we started with. I'm gonna set a very low password again, PW. I don't actually know if it's gonna accept that. It did. So, okay. Now it's asking for me to deposit into the game. I previously said, at least I think I did, that the game is open source and free, but there is a transaction fee of 1 Townforge gold for creating a new account, and this is for anti-spam purposes only. Okay, we're gonna be called Mysterious Stranger. Now we're actually waiting for our invitation and account creation to be mined. While we are doing that, as you can see my keyboard, I'm pressing F in order to change from walker mode into the free flying mode. You can change the camera mode from here. Walker mode is really your basic FPS style movement with A and D doing the strafe left and right, W for moving forward, and S for moving backwards. But we're gonna be constructing some things, so I wanna be in the flying mode, where you can detach yourself from the tyranny of gravity. Hopefully we'll get mines soon, so we can get down to business. As you can see, we don't yet have wallet balance. and we're waiting for the account to create. We can see that I'm currently mining with a little less than 300 hashes per second. We're synced up to the network. Maybe we could even step up the mining. Add a couple. Oh, sometimes it requires a little bit of a prod to the Windows client. Yeah. Chat messages are actually kind of transactions that never get mined, so they are there lingering around in the transaction pool. And as you can see, we're currently kind of exploring the voxel world. And the terrain that you see is procedurally generated. It's basically endless. We see a farm by Urho Bökderby over there, another farm by Smashamoto, an empty lot by Smashamoto over here, and this is a agricultural lot by Sigrid, who's actually the mayor of the first city, Helsingard. And these buildings have been built by me previously. And we were just mined, and we entered the game. Mysterious Stranger entered the game, and we probably see that in the chat, and we're gonna say hello to everybody. What's good mystery color? Maybe violet. He's being super mysterious. That's actually quite a hard color to see, so we're gonna swap over to yellow. Alright, so now we have an account. On the top left hand side you can see a clock face, which is quite essential for gameplay. You can see that we're currently moving from spring to summer, then comes autumn and winter. It's late spring as indicated in the calendar. You can see the current temperature in the thermometer, and you can actually see the sowing and reaping season, or rather the harvesting seasons for vegetables, which is light green for sowing and dark green for harvesting. And for grain, light brown for sowing and dark brown for harvesting. And there's 3 types of food at the game, inside the game at the moment. Meat, which you can get by hunting, and then vegetables and grain. What you need to do is keep your people warm and fed. So we have 300 money in our bank account inside the game. We don't have any out of game balance at the moment, and what we'll do is we're gonna buy a little patch of land. We might want to actually settle next to other buildings because we'll be benefiting from their influence. I'm gonna settle in this little corner. Let's leave out a little space for a road over here, 24 blocks wide. So we're gonna start off by building a house of size 32 by 32. I think that's good, since that's 2 bays. So I have a selection of 29 in the x-axis and 32 in the y-axis. So we're actually gonna, we have the compass on the bottom left hand side. We need to expand westwards 3 times to make that 32 by 32. And then we see that buying this plot, or this lot rather, costs then 10 Townforge gold, and that goes into the town treasury of your current active town. Currently in the game, since it was just recently reseted, we only have a single town, Helsingard, and all the transactions that cost money, such as buying lots, paying land tax, or buying from the supply of the town, you know, cubes to place in the world and that sort of thing, they go into the town treasury. And the idea is actually that the town treasury will circulate back all the money spent in the game back to the players based on how well they perform. And you know, the mayor is given a small reward, as well as the game devs are given a small slice of it's either 0.5% or 0.05% of the money going into the treasuries. I can't recall, so don't quote on me. But a very thin slice, and that money will be used for events as well as compensating devs for contributing to the game. So let's set out to buy our first piece of land, and I'm actually considering that I want a little building to live in, or have my people live in rather. And then I want to make a field where I currently see that it's grain sowing season, the light brown. I want to take part in that, so I'm gonna expand south and west, and that's 48 by 48. Let's buy that land. Something to emphasize, that land is not equal. As you can see, there's height differences based on the height map. Also, you can see that there's different factors. We're currently looking just at the texture, which changes over the seasons, but you also have stability, which indicates the rate at which town buildings will decay. For example, Smashimoto's Plantation 1 is built on land which has a penalization. This building will be decaying faster than buildings built on the light parts of this heat map. We can see from agriculture potential that, well, next to the town square, the land is not really fertile, and for example, Sigrid has set her farm on a really nice fertile land. It was also very stable, so that's a very good spot to put your little farm into. Geothermal heating will decrease the amount of heating required, and so forth. So we're not getting like a top-notch agricultural lot over here. It's waiting to be mined. Our first land purchase was just mined. I'm curious to see whether we have discovered any. We have discovered one block. So we got our first lot, and we can see that it's owned by a mysterious stranger, and that's us. And you can see that the balance was reduced from my account that I spent for buying this land. What I'll next need is to type that building. But before I do that, I should point out that this voxel-based gameplay that you can see over here, like the buildings and such, that is not required. You can play the game without constructing fancy buildings. We do try to give incentives for people to build aesthetically, but we don't force it on people. So, for example, if we look into this lot over here, which is on my main account, that's called Suxus Artisan Shop of building type craft. It is active, and you see that there's some blocks in it, like these cubes that you could place, but when you look at it visually, it's empty. But it's still a completely legit gaming object that will interact with the buildings next to it. You can see the influence range of it, and so forth. Hopefully our agricultural land got just mined. Not yet. Some other transactions did, probably. So, but for this demo of Let's Play Townforge, we're gonna actually be building stuff. So we can see that our little lot over here is large enough for 240% economic power craft. You can set kind of like a multiplier into strengthening the effects of your lot, so that even though it's a small lot, it can have a bigger impact. But it will require more materials, it's more costly. We can create a 300 economic power basic residential, but I don't think that's really what we want to go for. So I'm gonna do 150 economical power land, and I'm gonna be building basic residential. What we'll notice is that we're lacking some building materials. So let's open up the trade window. We're missing around 2000 sandstone. At this point, since we're in a testnet where there's not too many people, we do have an infinite supply of blocks, or cubes, or voxels, if you will. And that money is, with the infinite supply, it is really cost inefficient. The idea is that there is a guaranteed source for sandstone, granite, marble, pine, oak, teak, and so forth, but the infinite supply is really high in price, and once people start producing their own materials, they will undercut these prices and set out buy orders and so forth. But we want to get this done with quick, so we're gonna pay 12 Townforge gold for 2000 sandstone. Also, we need 20,000 pine. That's 20 Townforge gold over here, and we need 66,000 labor. Let's round it up to 100,000, which will cost us 40 Townforge gold. Now, once these get mined, we're gonna have the materials required for our basic residential building. We can wait in this window, or we could start examining the other options that we have. We can also see in the terrain, it reports the stability, agricultural potential, wood type, quantity, stone type and quantity, and so forth. And now our transactions to buy pine, sandstone, and labor went through. So now we have the necessary ingredients for building our little mysterious house. Because we're a mysterious stranger, so obviously we need a mysterious house to live in. If we try to build a higher EP house, it would require more materials, so we're not gonna do that just now. Now I have pushed into the transaction pool a request to build 6 seconds ago, a building setting. So as you can see, everything goes in the blockchain. We also had the land purchase over there, and we also had the trade. I think those are mine. No, that's actually 10 hours ago. Oh yeah, those were mined already, so now I'm just waiting for this to be typed. I think this actually now got lost because there's when a person gets invited into the game, they get a discount on their first lot purchase, and since I put in 2 in row in quite a quick pace, it didn't work out, and it's currently stuck in the transaction pool. We're already down almost 100 Townforge gold, so I need to be careful with my money. Other things to point out: you can research technology. The difficulty over here is kind of like what you would need to pay in order to have around 50% chance of discovering that tech. If we look at what the tech actually gives, for example, advanced maintenance gives a decreased decay rate for your buildings. and you get more shares. And shares are, well, that's another tech type. You generate more shares, and shares are used to redeem money back from the town treasuries. And building types boost each other in share generation, so you want to place yourself in an optimal position with the roads and other nearby buildings and the EP and all that. Alright. Since I bought some extra labor, I'm gonna send out a hunting party to hunt some moose. And that's because I'm gonna need food to keep my building active. Further on, I'm gonna need some heating materials, and for example, the pine blocks are good for that. I'm gonna buy some extra pine blocks as well. I just sent an order for 10,000 pine, cost me 10 Townforge gold. That's all coming from the infinite supply, which is super unoptimal. Players can create custom items over here. For example, I've created Susku family shares with it, which I've sold in the markets. You can see in the custom made items. In the description, I vow to give dividends every week of the Susku account, Susku. But I'm asking for quite a hefty price from those. It's basically just an experiment on the player-made items. Further on, you have patents that come from research discoveries. Patents mean that a research benefit is exclusive to the researcher who did it first for a certain set amount of time, but you can sell patents to others so that they start getting the same effect. You can also buy land. I could put out an offer on some of the existing lots, or I could buy somebody else's lot, really. Or you could buy a complete city. I could put out an offer to buy Helsingard for 1 Townforge gold and have that offer expire. Sorry, I can't sell that, but I can set out a buy offer, which would never go through, but we can just push that offer there in case Sigrid, who is the mayor of Helsingard, misclicks and accidentally sells the whole town to me. Then you have gemstones and coins. Coins kind of mark certain milestones in the game. We currently have 3 coins that are determined automatically. One of them is the Genesis coin, the birth of Townforge. We're actually gonna go and mint some coins over here. Although we need to be careful with our balance. Maybe we'll make 2 collectible coins of the year 950 collectible coin. Mint 2 of those. So that's also being pushed into the chain. And as you can see, the typing of this building just went through. So now this is called a basic residential building. You can actually see its influence range. So every building or lot rather inside this influence range will benefit from having a basic residential building next to it. Once I have typed a building, I can actually construct on it. And for that, I will be using the cubes I placed there. We see that I have 1,843 sandstone and around 10-fold pine wood. We have some vegetation which we can use for decorating around the house, and labor is a unit of kind of describing men working for you, placing the blocks on your lot and, you know, building things. Labor is kind of like an abstraction of workforce. So let's get down into what happens when I start building stuff. There's really 2 ways to build stuff. We see that some of the textures and materials are locked until I gain levels. I will go into that in a moment, how you gain levels and attributes and so forth. But let's make, in the building side of things, a small road leading to a little hut over here. Q and E buttons are used for placing and removing individual blocks. As you can see, I'm pressing down E to remove the individual blocks that I just placed. I could also go and select them individually. That's for like fine-tuning your little buildings and making, for example, sculpting and that sort of thing. But typically you want to go with the rough sketch with a more comprehensive way, a faster way to build, and that will be with the Z and C keys. I forgot to mention, but pressing down the X key will open up the texture menu, and with the arrow keys you shift between cube types. We have sandstone, granite, marble, pine, oak, teak, vegetation, and then we have gone a full circle and we're back in sandstone. And we're gonna select within sandstone the typing of sandstone cobblestone, because that will meld nicely into the town square over here. We want to make a little entrance that aligns very nicely over here, so we're gonna check how wide our lot was again. 32. So if you go and select 16, so here's the immediate center. We're gonna make it 4 wide and maybe 4. Let's make it a little bit longer. So we're gonna add 4 by 6 blocks. And I might be sometimes calling blocks while referring to the blockchain blocks, and sometimes referring to blocks that you place in the voxel world. That's a little bit of a mix-up. Hope you can endure that. I try to refer to them as cubes, but blocks just comes to me naturally. So that's a distinction just to keep in mind. With the Z and C keys, I can bulk add or remove stuff at the current selection. As you can see, I'm adding a lot of sandstone. This is very good for building walls and larger things like that. And we wanted to make a small entrance to our little mysterious house. Okay, we don't want the mysterious house to have a floor tiling equal to the cobblestones, so we're actually gonna make a little bit different tiling here with just plain sandstone. If I make it 16 by 8, then it's gonna be 16 by 16 if I do the same over here. 16 by 8, 16 by 8, that's going to be 16 by 16 building. And as you noticed, I selected texture for this sandstone type. So I will be using sandstone. Poof. I'm actually going to put down the music volume a bit in case it gets in way of my voice. Hopefully you can still, or you've been able to hear me well. So now I'm gonna add that same on the other direction to make it symmetrical. 16 by 8, and that should now be a base of 16 by 16. Looking good. We'll make a stone base for the building. As you notice, I'm using the Z key for this kind of bulk editing. And similar to the type of buildings I built over here, I'm kind of using the same kind of template. I'm not feeling particularly creative at the moment. I can make a little door frame over here. Oh, something to note. Z will always add blocks on the layer that's topmost. So if we add over here, it will check out what is the vertical slice which is first available. But we don't want there to be kind of this uneven setting here, so we're gonna make a little kind of pacing of the doorway like this, and then connect it like this. So that's our doorway. We're gonna make the sides of the building out of wood. And we're using the gray texture for the plain walls. There we go. Alright, so we have a planned building like this. It's really lacking a roof. I'm taking some inspiration of my building over there. Let's make a little lining of sandstone on the top as well. And make a bit of I'm actually gonna make wait a minute, it was 16, so that's dividable by 2 or 4. Let's make it a slope one way, even though that's not really pretty, but we're not collecting architecture points or anything here. And like this. And then make the roof out of too bad the more fancy textures are still locked for this account. I'll use the red pine wood, and I'll let the tiling come out 1 unit out of the sides. Oops, now this is gonna be a little bit hard. Oh, I actually didn't manage to choose the correct spot. Over there, nice. Nope. One more. And one more ceiling plank. And we have a one direction sloped roof in our mysterious house. Let's let in some light and create windows on each side. So the inner part of the building is 14, so the exact middle is 7. Let's put it 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's place it over here, and now I'm gonna be removing individual blocks or cubes, if you will. It's regular, so this should also be 14, so the middle is in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the same thing for the last building. Sorry, the last wall. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not too pretty though. I even messed up a little bit over here. I think that's just a misclick. I'm gonna change back into red pine and add that. I actually really like the look of the roof over here. But, well, too bad. This is gonna be our little hut, and we're gonna add some vegetation around it. Vegetation is a block type that's added for free to your lots, just to kind of make it look like there's actual grass and trees and that sort of thing growing around. This is way too regular to look natural, but We'll do that. It's like a, you know, like a fence or something like that. But let's add a small tree in the backyard using bark, and now I'll be using a little bit of the tools combined. Yeah, like that, and that. Could be like an apple tree or something like that. Let's make like a branch going out in this direction. Another one that elevates a bit and goes in this direction. Something to note, I cannot go outside the boundaries of the lot, so I get an error message if I try to add blocks, or I just can't do that. If I try to go outside, for example, like this, it just won't let me. And let's add some leaf-like. Sorry, didn't have my lot selected. I think like no. Good enough for a brief example. Oh, actually put some vegetation inside the building. And yeah, well, maybe not the prettiest tree ever created, but it'll have to do. I won't go Da Vinci on this. Yeah, that's fine for our purposes. And for building, that also goes in the blockchain like everything else, like I've mentioned multiple times. When I approve this plan, it will make it into horizontal slices and push each of those slices into the queue. So now I'm gonna approve it, and it's gonna be around 20 height. I'm gonna be adding 17 slices to Mysterious House, and we can probably see them. We should be able to see them in the Explorer. Yes, we see some build orders waiting to be mined that were placed just now. While waiting for that to appear, on average that should take 17 minutes now to appear, because one block per minute is being discovered. I should point out game ticks. So every block discovered, this kind of light logic of the game is being resolved. This will include trade offers, adding or removing slices of voxels into the buildings, researching technology, sending out text chat messages, or those actually are more instant even because they go into the transaction pool rather than are actually mined. Hunting happens in each block. I just added a moose hunt in Helsingard for that purpose. But you can see from the clock face over here that there's these outer rim ticks. And those outer rim ticks are game ticks. And game ticks are when heavy logic, game logic takes place. And during that game tick, actions such as building decay take part, feeding your people, keeping them warm, inactivation or activation of buildings. As we notice, we just got the first slice of our Mysterious House ready by mining just a single block. Regarding the heavy logic, activation or inactivation of buildings is very crucial, because active buildings will be generating shares, or they will have their other functionality available for the players, so you want to keep them active. And in order to keep them active, they start out inactive. We can see that from my building over here. I got 16,000 meat from hunting the moose. That's nice. My mysterious house is currently inactive, but in the next game tick, that is prone to come in around 200 blocks. We can see that from the latest update. 221 blocks. The game will check whether or not this building should become active or inactive. And if I meet the conditions, I have enough food and for example pine for heating it up, this basic residential building will become active, and I'll be able to redeem some of that town treasury. And if you paid close attention to the town treasury, all the money I've spent on this account, a whopping 102 Townforge gold, has gone mainly to the treasury, and then it will be circulating back to the players slowly. And we can actually go and examine player specific effects in the last block, for example. Well, we're looking at Eric the Red in the last game tick, which take part every 360 blocks. So those game ticks are multiples of 360. Last one happened 5.8 hours ago. You have them every 6 hours on average, so you would expect to see 4 of them per every real life day. We noticed that Eric's little red hat got deactivated because he fell short on food. He still had to pay the land tax and his building decayed, but too bad for Eric, he didn't get any payout. Presumably he had enough food and heating materials previously. If we go back 2 game ticks, we notice that he actually was awarded a badge. Those also come out on game ticks, and those connect to levels. I need to go into those. I need to remember that. We notice that he had enough meat and pine for food and heating respectively. He got 12 Townforge gold payout for his basic residential building. He still paid land tax and his building decayed, but he got a decent payback from the town treasury based on the amount of shares he produced of all the players participating in this economical game, trying to get as much as possible from the town treasuries. Or you can play, we've been thinking what kind of archetypes of game players there could be. One would be a market margin trader. You basically don't really fight for shares. Instead, you want to produce some niche products like teak and oak, the fancy wood types, which are required for very high EP buildings, or maybe marble, which is really kind of like a fancy material, and you get those from stone quarries. So somebody could be just playing with those and selling them for profit in markets. That's one way to play. They don't have to fight for the town treasuries. Or somebody could be researching tech and selling patents to others. Or there are other purposes. You can go and hunt, exhaust the moose and bears in Helsingard, and then try to sell that. Or maybe even go mass farm vegetables and grain and sell that to other people who are starving and need that to keep their buildings active, such as Eric, who unfortunately didn't get payout from his little red hut over here just now. And as you can see, slowly but steady our building is getting mined. This for kind of copy pasting buildings from previous chains, or if you just want to slap the same building next to each other. We support the format Vox at the moment for importing and exporting, and you can do that for parts of the lot or for the whole lot. You'll probably be seeing me import some of my fancier buildings from the earlier chains to this chain later on, as I just get down into it. I just haven't had the time yet. Well, if I go down this list systematically, I just showed you that I can mint coins. One thing to really also emphasize is that you might think that since this is a monero fork, there's like super strict privacy going on, but that's not the case for in-game actions. In-game actions are all visible to everybody. I can go and inspect any player, see their balance, see their level, ID, and so forth. So let's check out Eric the Red. Eric the Red is level 2. He could actually be leveling up 2 attributes. He has a balance of 68 Townforge gold. He has in his inventory 93 meat and 902 pine blocks, and he's the owner of a single inactive building, Eric's Red Little Hut, which is of type basic residential, and you see the other characteristics here as well. And he was awarded the badge by Pioneer, and that's how he gained his level, or 2 levels rather. Suxu on the other hand is level 11. He has a bio, and he has used those levels to increase his attributes. Currently there's 4 attributes in the game, but that will change. He has researched tech, he has minted more coins, and he made his custom item, which I showcased in the markets. So that's actually my main account. I am Suxu, unless I might have forgot to say that. And you can see that Suxu has many more buildings, and all of them are actually currently active, and we can actually see that what Suxu ought to expect every game tick. He will be consuming pine. This is not for heating purposes, this is for production purposes. His sawmill will be producing pine, while his quarries will be consuming pine. His sawmill will be producing oak and teak. He might want to put those out in the market, while consuming sandstone in the process, as well as labor. As I mentioned, labor is kind of a generic abstraction of manpower being used. And then in the bottom line you see a sum of everything that his buildings, assuming they stay active, what he ought to expect to have in his inventory. So if we check pine, oak, teak, sandstone, granite, and marble, the ones that are going to be reduced are pine and sandstone and labor. He currently has almost 100,000 labor, 16,000 sandstone, and 20,000 pine. So in light of that, yeah, he has enough labor for 2 ticks. I think that's the first one that will run out. But this is not taking into account the food and warming up of your buildings. He's made some discoveries, for example, boosting his vegetable production, as well as shares created by roads. He's researched the tech that gives him access to downstream technology, like it's kind of like a tree structure, better crop yields from grain, and also reinforced masonry, which decreases building decay for buildings that are high enough economical powers, or kind of their quality is high enough. And he has plenty of badges. Max number of buildings gives you levels in the builder badge. Experimenter number of different building types. Progress badge is the number of discoveries. Those were the researched techs. He has deposited at least 1,000 kingdom Townforge gold. The number of patents he has is at least 5. This is distinct patents. He constructed the first building within 3 days of starting the chain. I will actually be getting that badge as well now, as well as the minting of coins within a certain time frame of start of the game. So there's 5 different levels to these badges: bronze, silver, gold, magenta, and then this kind of obsidian black. And you know, the higher the better. We can actually go and inspect his whole history, which is only whopping 2 pages long, since the game hasn't been rolling for quite long yet. And we can actually see that 60 got a bonus from the mysterious stranger entering the game. We can see that he's been getting quite nice payouts for his craft building: 152 Townforge gold, Townforge gold, 110 for his medium-sized hut, tiny hut generating 41 in the last tick. So I think he's making good profit, but we gotta remember he put an initial investment into buying the land as well as the materials to build the buildings, which could have been, I mean, the craft that made a lot of money, he hasn't placed the blocks there. I'm speaking of myself in third person, but just to showcase that you don't have to do this voxel based side of the game if you don't want to. You can participate in the economy as well without it. Leaderboards will give us kind of a large scale view into what's going on. We can see that the largest, most ambitious building currently is Urhobokterby's farm. I think he's planning on making a lot of vegetables or grain, not sure which one. The highest level in game is Suksu currently, and if we look at the weekly progress, Smashamoto and Suksu have been gaining both 10 levels. And Suksu has made the most discoveries, 5 researched techs. Okay, at the point of ignore, I will have to mention, or I should mention, GMs. So GMs are different in Townforge that you might expect from other MMOs. GMs cannot ban people, they don't have godlike powers or any of that. We have made the game exit scam proof and so forth. What the GMs can do, they can create new attributes. We saw, for example, attributes just now, and those are used for role-playing purposes. What the GMs can do also, they can create new badges, and those are rewarded, for example, for participating in role-playing events. I used to do, game mastering in, for example, in the game Call of Cthulhu, which is a horror game, completely different setting from this. But I like creating stories and interacting with people. So the intention is that we will have, hopefully at least, we'll have these pre-made quests for people to participate in, as well as live events, similar to what, for example, Ultima Online used to have when Lord British would do stuff, and also, since we were at the point ignore, GMs can flag accounts and buildings and items, I believe, to be ignored. And this is to prevent phishing and harassment and such. For example, somebody might build a building with, pixel-based text script that gives a phishing site address, and some people might go there. So the GM will flag that with an ignore, that this is not an appropriate building. What will happen is the default settings in the game client will then not show the contents of that log. That player will be ignored in the chat by default. But again, to emphasize that they're not godlike beings, this is an optional thing. Those buildings still exist in the blockchain. Those player messages will go out there. It's just the default game client settings will then ignore those buildings and messages. But if you really want to see all that garbage, you can turn off the ignoring filters. So it's not like the GMs will go crazy and censor everything from you if you want to see all that crap. So I think that pretty much covers everything the GMs can do. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that I did mention that the game takes a little cut of the money going into the town treasuries. So we can see that there's 16,500 treasury in Helsingard, 16,000 Townforge gold. And we can actually go and examine what's inside the GM/game account. It exists there and it is transparent. You can see that the balance there is 22. That's all the money it has received thus far from the kind of dev cut. And if we go into the history, we can see that there's been activity on the game account. It's been receiving increasing payouts because people have been spending more and more money in the game, as well as they've created a custom badge. Most of the badges you just saw were already like pre-defined, the ones on Suxu account, but the GMs can create custom badges and award them to people for these role-playing intentions. The game account doesn't have any badges at the moment, so I'm just for the fun of it, I'm gonna exemplify giving 1 sandstone to the game account, and that is actually a queued command that now is waiting to be mined. And we also notice that my building is almost ready. I don't think that was 15 minutes. It might have been, I'm actually not sure. Oh, we're already above 1 hour long video, so I should be wrapping up soon. Shifting down, options, credits. Well, it's an open source free game, so just check who's in the team. Obviously, everything I say, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm part of the people creating this game, so I have a conflict of interest. However, we like to make a good game. That's our purpose. We have some selection things that we didn't really use here too much, such as shrinking or selecting edges of a selection. We could have done ellipsoid edges and whatnot. And with the flags, we can go and actually check out how many blocks were placed in this lot. We could have renamed that. And once the game ticks, which we won't be seeing in this video because that's going to happen in roughly 207 minutes, over 3 hours from now, by expectation. We won't be seeing that, but once the game ticks, I can repair buildings. Assigning items means putting things from my inventory to the lots, so I could potentially make them more neat, look better than they would otherwise look. I can demolish a building, and in that case I redeem part of the items that have been put there, the sandstone and pine mainly in this case, and then the lot will be resetted in its type. It will become an empty lot again. Before I end this video, I really want to have an agricultural lot. I'm gonna free ride maybe and go and buy an agricultural lot next to cigarettes, because this was really neat looking land. Let's buy a 48 by 48 lot. Okay, so x-axis 42. So let's spread that and go southwards into 48. 23 Townforge gold and game tick tax for the land of 0.1. That's not too bad. And like we checked out, the agricultural potential and stability in this land was excellent. I'm gonna already put a order out for sandstone and pine and labor, and I'm gonna be pretty tight in my budget right now. Labor, I need that. Gonna buy some extra labor cause I can also go on a hunt and get myself some food to make sure that my little mysterious house will trigger in the next game tick and generate me shares and get me money back from the game or the Helsingard treasury, because it's located in the town Helsingard. Okay, let's see if we now have all the requirements for making this an agricultural building. Yep, we fulfill all criteria, so we are gonna call it a mysterious farm. Let's even see if we can ramp up the... Oh, yeah, the lot is not large enough to ramp up the economical power, so we're gonna be happy with economical power 100. The thing I want to do is I see the grain sowing season ending, and I want to sow grain in there just so I can collect that later on in around a day or so. We need to remember that between each tick in this outer rim there's 6 hours, so 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, around 30 hours plus until I will be able to then harvest the grain that I sowed to this lot once my agricultural building typing will go through. You can found new cities, but we are not anywhere near to being viable to having a second city in the world. That's based on the amount of buildings and economic power of those buildings in the current world, and this is updated every game tick, and currently the cost to create a new town or a city rather is ridiculously high, so we just have to wait people to build more. Once you get to that, you can start playing around and seeking for an optimal type of place, and you can do city customization. This initial city hasn't yet leveled up, but once it does, the mayor can choose city specializations such as increased temperature there, a slightly increased temperature to better yield crops and so forth, or maybe have more moose in it, or have a lower decay rate and that sort of thing. But every level will allow you one more specialization, so you need to be careful in what you decide to add there, because that's obviously going to affect what kind of buildings and people you'll be getting in your city. And now our mysterious farm is ready, and we're gonna sow grain because it's currently grain sowing season. As we see, the vegetable sowing season just ended. The light green part over here, the light brown part is still there, so we're gonna sow grain over here, and we're gonna hunt for some more extra food as well as buy some pine just in case that we have enough heating materials to last all the way until we can harvest the reward of our sowing. How much more money do I even have? I actually have to make sure I have enough money to endure all these game ticks, because I'm gonna be paying land tax from that. Okay, I sowed grain, I got meat. I'm actually gonna leave out meat offer, sell order. I'm gonna undercut this guy. It's probably cigarettes selling meat, so I'm gonna put out a meat offer of 5,000 meat, at undercutting at the fourth digit. This would, if somebody bought this, I would get 499 Townforge gold. Oh, sorry, I'm actually in the wrong position, and you can't see this because this is in the keyboard overlay. You have buy over here and sell on the right hand side. So I'm gonna sell 5,000 meat, and we're gonna undercut that offer, which I think is by Sigrid. I could actually see that probably in her gaming history. Auto expire in 3 days, and that's real life days. So now we see that my sell order went underneath hers. I just want to make sure my inventory has that much meat. Yeah, I can definitely sell 5,000 because I'll have 60,000 left after that. Something I could quickly showcase is that even though everything's public inside the game, outside of the game, the wallet functions do resemble Monero-like characteristics. So we can withdraw money out of the game. Let's say I wanted to withdraw 20 Townforge gold. We can definitely do that. Oh, no outputs. That's probably because this is deposited money from Suxu. I'm not actually sure if this is a feature that is intended to function that way. But I can showcase this with Suxu's account. So Suxu currently has 6,000 out of game wallet, 1,000 in game wallet. Gonna withdraw 500 for the sake of example. And when that gets mined, it will transfer into Suxu's out of game balance. But there is of course that lag of verifying those transactions, so that that balance will not be unlocked immediately either. We could quickly go and check out Suxu wallet. It doesn't have a password as we're speaking. This is a testnet, and I made these for demonstration purposes. Obviously you need to be having a secure password as well as storing your seed and all that once you get serious about the game. I think we've pretty much showcased everything. So once that withdrawal goes through, I will just show to you what it looks like in Suxu's wallet, what has just happened when I withdrew money from inside the game. And we could transfer money from Suxu's account to the account of a mysterious stranger over here, just like any Monero transaction pretty much. So that's out of game transactions there. Let's see what's waiting in the transaction pool. Transfer, that's our withdrawal. Trade offers waiting to be fulfilled. And we see that I sowed my grain, we did a hunting party, we set an agricultural building. So everything goes in the blockchain. That's part of the beauty of Townforge, a crypto-MMO. Okay, we're now gonna close up here. Or maybe I'll quickly showcase to you. We've been in the free mode. I'll change to the walker mode and move in and check out what the view is like from my new building. There's collision detection. I can't walk through the walls anymore like I could in the, the construction mode. Oh, I have my pretty apple tree outside. Yeah, I just need some kind of apples or something. And I see my neighbor there. Hello, neighbor. And his crappy tree. Mine's much better. And in the distance, we see Sigrid's farm and Mashamoto's agricultural wall. I'm not judging. That's a fine wall. I just don't know how that's related to agriculture. But aesthetics and game mechanics don't always overlap. Alright, so that's what we just created. We're gonna close the game for Mysterious Stranger. We're gonna check out what's the situation with Diamond, and we're gonna open up what did I even call my wallet? I called it 300 gold. Townforge wallet Klee. 300 gold. I think my password was PW. Or did I set a password? I forgot. Oh, I did. Now we see what's been going on. These spent amounts are in-game balance going to various transaction mining fees. We can see that in-game balance is 54, unlocked balance out of game 0. Currently not in sync. I think we need to. It's still lagging. Sometimes the Windows side of things needs a prod. Now if we refresh, now we're connected. So what we'll do, we'll check out the Suxu wallet. I forgot to take out the address of the demo account. No, that's not the address of the demo account. 300 gold, PW. Address. Let's take that. Then we're gonna change into the Suxu wallet version 0.22, no password, and refresh. And what is our balance? Well, we can see that there, in-game balance 500. We just withdrew 500 to the out-of-game balance, and now we could transfer. Oh, not all of it is unlocked, but enough of it is unlocked that we can transfer, for example, 100 Townforge gold outside the game. Actually, first I need to put the address, which is now the Mysterious Stranger, and send him a tip of 100 Townforge gold. Yep. Transaction fee spending. Is this okay? Yeah, looks good to me. Transaction successfully submitted. Show transfers. Oh, that's a long list. That's all the history. And we have a pending outbound transaction to the account of Mysterious Stranger. Let's see what the block Explorer says about that. Command none. So there's something up, but that's not game actions. And we can see the inputs, outputs over here. I think that pretty much covers everything essential at this point. If you would now like to join the Townforge community, join us on IRC forums. I think there's I posted some videos of some of the creations that I've done in the forums. I'm intending to write some wiki articles about various aspects, various topics of the gameplay, as well as lore and game mechanics, but you can find most of that already in the manual. So I hope to catch you in IRC as well as in-game. Thanks for watching, and I'm Suxu, and cheers. Hope you enjoyed.